All right, it is a new week in our class, and this week's topic is qualitative data analysis. And so, of course, that's what you'll be learning about this week. Last week was about quantitative data analysis and statistical methods for inferential as well as descriptive statistics. Now we move into qualitative data analysis, and it's our second to last week of the class. So the class is really winding down. You handed in hopefully your literature review. I will be grading those soon as I can. Those are quite an involved thing to grade. As you know, they were quite a bit of work, I'm sure, for you to complete. But you know, an interesting thing about research is it really does mean doing the hard work to answer questions. It means having an insatiable curiosity about something, or about a whole range of things maybe, and wanting to really do enough work to know the answer, because research is not a picnic in the park. It's tough work. And so having that insatiable curiosity and doing the hard work to answer questions. And your literature review is an example of this, because you actually had to go through and find information sources and then discover what they said in the literature review. And that gives you some good information, especially if most of the sources that you have in your literature review are research studies, they're actually primary sources, rather than secondary compilations of sources. And so that's what research means. It means moving forward. Instead of just moving forward, it means instead of moving forward just on a hunch or doing what has always been done, instead we gather information. If we have a question in our workplace or in our home life, or whatever question we might have, instead of just moving forward and doing what we've always just done, or basing it on a hunch or a gut feeling, we actually gather information. And we actually try to find the best answer based on the research studies that have been done. That's what being a good researcher or a good person who depends on the research is, really. And that could mean just looking at previous studies, as you have done in this class and in your literature review. Or it could mean also finding out something more than other research studies can tell us by doing your own research study. And you all have had to work through a hypothetical research study for this class that you proposed to me. And so either way, this class should hopefully have given you some more skills in either area, whether it's gathering information that's already existing from research studies to make an informed decision, or whether it's to design your own research study that works well for finding out a question that you want an answer to. So this week is on qualitative data analysis. Now, qualitative data analysis is much more involved of a process than quantitative data analysis is. So with quantitative research, you do a lot of the work up front. You gather the research instrument. So again, with quantitative research, everything's done up front. With qualitative research, though, you have most of the choices to make, and a lot of the work to be done is after or during the research study, because you spend a long time out in the field with qualitative research, and you also gather much more data. And so with this data, there's a lot to go through, and you have to do it in a systematic way. You can't just randomly go through, pick out things that you think sound good, because that won't yield any kind of result that anyone else will believe. It's just maybe your own biases are making that data become the way it is, you know. And so if you don't have a system, then people might not believe your research. So there are a variety of outcomes that can come from qualitative data as well, because you're collecting so much data, it could go any direction. And you have to reconnect what you found to the literature, and that's why for those who proposed a qualitative data analysis or qualitative data study, I required you to look at the literature and kind of look at how it might connect, your findings might connect back in. And so your literature review, yeah, you have to do that before you do your study, but in qualitative, you have to kind of do another literature review at the end of your study. Like you've collected a bunch of data now. How does that connect back to what other people have said already in the literature? And that, again, is another way to show that what you're doing connects to other findings and makes your research study more credible. So that's qualitative research, data analysis. You really need to have if you plan to do qualitative research study, you'll need to do much more, give much more detail about exactly how you will go through the process of data analysis. Okay, with quantitative studies, those of you who are proposing those, it's pretty simple. You generally have a good idea of how you're going to run the correlation. You're going to use Pearson's or Spearman correlation or whatever it is. You know, you're going to use repeated measures ANOVA or whatever it is to analyze the data. But with qualitative, there's a lot more to it. How are you going to go through, let's say you're doing narrative research, how are you going to go through so much research and so much stuff in a short amount of time? Well, you can't do it in a short amount of time. In a longer amount of time, what's the process going to be? Are you going to first look at the photographs that you received? Are you going to look at the interviews? Are you going to look at the things that you recorded? What is it that you're going to look at in order to do this kind of a thing? So that's qualitative versus quantitative data analysis, some very important parts of understanding this. So make sure when you submit your proposal this week, you do a good job of covering all of the different things that you're going to be reading in your chapter about qualitative data analysis if your study is going to be a qualitative one. Okay, so let's take a look at some of the things that we're going to do this week then. You're going to be reading 3 chapters, chapters 19, 20, and 21 in the textbook, and then you'll also take quizzes on those 3 chapters. It's not a simple week. There's a lot to be done. You'll also need to complete this discussion about qualitative and quantitative data. So we're starting to wind down, talk about what data you'll collect, talk about decisions made with the data results and so forth. And then you'll be submitting by the end of this week your final proposal. And the items that you already have completed are not bolded here, but the items that you need to complete new or have not done yet are in bold: cover page, abstract, and data analysis methods planned. So of course you're not actually going to analyze your data, as you don't have to actually complete your research study for this class, but you are going to say what your planned data analysis methods are. And again, like I mentioned, with qualitative data analysis, you'll want to get much more involved about what that means. Let's see, the cover page. I've left an example here too, right below, final research proposal example, so that will help you. But if you look at the cover page, abstract, and data analysis there, those provide some good examples. And that's about it, really. This is your final proposal. I'll be looking for these elements in the rubric as I grade those, and it's a big portion of your grade because you've kind of built up to this. So you want to make sure that you also incorporate any work, any feedback, and any previous work that you have done. Feedback I've given you into this so that it's your polished, finished research proposal. And through this proposal, I can hopefully see that you have gained some of those research mindsets and competencies that I am looking for. All right, so that's that. That's the items for this week. Now, if we look at the research proposal example, hold on a second. All right, so that's everything. The example I couldn't pull up right now, but you can take a look at the example from the final research proposal and see what that entails. But it has all the sections, and that one scored fairly well in the process, as the student who did that did a very good job. So that should do it for this week. I wish you luck in finishing that final proposal, and have a great week.